think that I'm going to make this either a Tuesday tips or a favorite Fridays, but I want to share with you things that my favorite products I absolutely love to use on my face and the reasons why. I did another video of the technique of layering technique, and I've been using this for about a couple of years now. And I stated that it works, especially since I've moved out here to the West Coast. I'm originally from the East Coast, and typically we have all four seasons on the Northeast. So it gets really humid in the summer and very dry in the winter. But out west, I noticed that it's like dry all year. And I noticed that as I'm getting older, I needed to somehow retain moisture on my skin, but also in a way that also doesn't disturb the makeup and the makeup can last longer. In my routine, I incorporate these three different misting sprays and they all work for different reasons. So the first thing I use is the rose water. Now, this is from Heritage Store, but you can make your own rose water. Chemicals in the rose water itself is an anti-inflammatory, so it helps soothe the skin. And I also add glycerin to it to retain moisture, to attract moisture in my skin. So that's the first step that I use. The second item is I use the Urban Decay setting spray, all nighter. It has a silicone base, which creates a mattifying effect. So the way I use it, if you see my other videos, that I use the rose water first um, to help moisturize my skin. So usually I do this either before I apply the foundation or um after I apply the foundation to help disperse the makeup to bring back moisture in my skin. After I use the glycerin, um I then go in with the Urban Decay. It doesn't have to be Urban Decay, but Urban Decay works for me. Urban Decay All Nighter, and I use that as a second step because it helps with the silicone base that it has helps with the mattifying effect. So it helps soothe out the makeup, kind of create an airbrush effect. And lastly, use the Urban Decay, I use after I use the Urban Decay setting spray, I use the either Dermacolor or another brand, another product that Kryolan has is it comes in a blue can. It's like a setting spray, but it has an alcohol base. So the alcohol base, it kills the germs, um, but it also helps. Basically, it kind of like sucks up, creates like a secure shield. It kind of doesn't mattify and not just mattify the skin, but it kind of gives that protection layer, you could say. And the reason why, and I believe I stated on the other videos, is that I use these three because they all have a different purpose in it. The rose water, as I stated, it has anti-inflammatory, and if it has glycerin in it, I add glycerin in it to help attract moisture to the skin. The Urban Decay, it doesn't have to be Urban Decay, but the Urban Decay, I use that because it has a silicone effect and it helps with the mattifying. And last, I use the Kryolan setting spray. Um, the one in the blue can I prefer because it has an alcohol base and it's similar to the same alcohol, rubbing alcohol, but the concentration level varies. And with that, it sucks up any additional moisture, creating a shield, like a shield film over the makeup. And the process I do, if you look at my last video, shows you where in the process that I, you know, use each setting spray. So it goes with glycerin, rose water, the silicone, and then the alcohol base. So as far as brands, the brands that I use, I love Kryolan setting spray. It's waterproof. The one in the blue can, which I don't have right now because it was sold out, that's the one I prefer. But the second one that I'm starting to use is the Dermacolor. And according to the salesperson at the Kryolan shop, it gives you a skin effect. And I do agree. If you see it closely, I don't know if you can tell, but it's not as usually in my other videos, it gets like a almost like I can describe it, but with the spray in a blue can, but this one's kind of more like you still see I have texture on my skin. So um this comes a close second, the Cryolic. Another favorite product of mine is the Narcissus Concealer. I ran out of it, but the Narcissus Concealer, I've been using this since but not this one in particular, but the brand itself. I've been using it since my late mid 20s, late to mid 20s. as you know, concealers, this has high it's more concentrated. I use that for my dark circles. Sometimes I use that for highlighting itself. Um, yeah, I prefer that. I usually when I like something and it works for me, I stick to that brand, I stick to that product. And that's the same case with the Narcissus Radiant Concealer. The one that I have here is in medium Cirque du Org. Yeah, so I use that under eyes, and I use that for highlighting. But their radiant concealer, I believe it's like a staple in the makeup community, and that works for me. It's not too drying, gives me a nice, good moisture, good coverage. Um, I have nothing negative to say about it. The only thing do have negative to say about it that is so tiny. I wish it comes in a like a palette or something like that. It could last longer. That would be a good idea. NARS, make it come in a palette. And another one I would say that I think everyone should learn to do is airbrush. I have other videos, if you've seen my TikTok, of airbrushing, what is airbrush and how to airbrush. I think airbrush is an excellent technique to learn. If you don't know what airbrush makeup is the const or the technology of using air to apply your makeup. I know a lot of companies state that you can get the airbrush effect, meaning you can get the airbrush look, but it's not airbrush makeup if you're not using air in it. And one of the brands that you can get to get the airbrush makeup effect is Temptu, Denier, Ket. Um, so these are one of the I think MAC has an airbrush makeup line. And the reasons why I like to do airbrushing because it's quick. You don't need to use a lot of products. You can customize your makeup when you're doing airbrushing. It's light on your face. It doesn't feel like I'm wearing airbrush makeup right now. Temp 2 and makeup designer, also known as Mud Cosmetics. And it's good with full coverage or light coverage, whatever you want. Um, and it's very natural looking because sometimes if you do traditional hand makeup, it could look very cakey, unnatural, and it can also pile up. And it takes a while too to do the makeup. Whereas airbrushing, it's it prides itself in being a quick way of putting on your makeup. It's lightweight. It's also long lasting, depending on the type of base it is, because there's a water base and there's a silicone base, and usually I have silicone based makeup on my face. And usually those silicone based airbrush makeup is self setting, so meaning that it dries and it sets quickly, so you have to work fast when you use silicone base. And the brand that I prefer to use, at least I've been using since I learned how to airbrush, has been Makeup Designery and Temp 2. And I believe Temp 2 is like one of the I think it is the most popular or most well known airbrush company. I know most people won't have or know it. So usually airbrush comes in like these tiny little containers, but these tiny little containers can last you for about a year. You don't need to put a lot on your face, because when the product is dispersed out of the airbrush machine, it will, depending on the proximity to your face and how hard you pull on the applicator itself, it will determine the concentration or how heavy the makeup will be. Um, so as I mentioned before, usually airbrush machines, you can get industrial airbrush machine that I have. Like I have this Sparmax machine that I had for about probably like 10, 11 years now. I use that to apply my makeup. And they also have portable machines too. I think the downside of airbrush makeup is that it's hard to carry. It's not portable. As I have an industrial size machine, it's pretty loud. Um, Also, if you have the portable ones, you have to make sure it's charged and or there's an outlet nearby to plug your machine in to charge it. So that's pretty much the downside. But other than that, I prefer to do airbrush makeup when I can. As for the all the benefits that I mentioned before, it's long lasting. It can be waterproof. Some have waterproof chemicals in it, so it could be much more long lasting. It's self setting, and it's quick to do, and it's less products that you have to put on your face, and it's customizable. Um, Also, even though it's self-setting, I still do recommend using setting spray to help secure and make it even more long lasting. But yeah, so those are my three favorite products or 3 things I like to do that I put in my makeup routine. The 3-step process when it comes to using the setting sprays, the from moisturizing to the, I won't say least moisturizing, but from a water-based to an alcohol-based setting spray, the Narcissist Radiant Concealer, and airbrush makeup. So I don't know if this is going to be like a Tuesday tips or Fave Fridays. I'll figure it out. But yeah, let me know if you want me to do more videos like this. Comment below. Thanks for watching. I hope this works. It's still recording. Okay, so I hope you guys can hear me. So